Okay, on my way home from my next day of work. It's raining and I really don't feel like being out in all this crap. Anyway, so what wound up being the full repair deal, transmission was loose and neutraling out on this truck since I got it, like since right after I got it, like about 6 to 8 months after I got it. It was neutraling out. I changed the fluid and filter, put the drain plug in there to where it'd make it easier to change the fluid and filter in the future. And never had any real problem with it other than it would neutral out occasionally. Now, that's no longer an issue because this past weekend I had already planned, already spoke to my neighbor about it and everything. I'd already planned to swap the transmission out with the one in my wife's Suburban. Suburban ran and drove fine. The problem is it had a lot of sensors that were out on it. The motor was going out on it. Plus it's got 179,000 miles on it. They were easy miles. Most of them are highway miles, but there's just a lot of them. We don't need that big of a vehicle anymore. A lot of the parts that are on that I'd like to have on this. Some of them I have to see if they'll even fit. The rear end I would love to fit on here, even if it took me having to weld parts of it on, but I don't know that it'll fit. For starters, the leaf springs on the back of the Suburban are thicker and there's more of them. On top of that, they've also got that rear end also has an anti-sway bar on it, which I would love to have. Keeps everything from shifting side to side while you're driving down the road. Now, I may have to swap the whole rear end and all out, which it shouldn't matter. It's the same bolt pattern and everything because they're both two-wheel drive. But I really wouldn't mind having the anti-sway bar. And those kits that they sell you aftermarket for these things don't even come close to the stability that the one that's actually built in as part of the truck on the Suburban actually has. I only know that because there's one guy here that had put one of those on his truck, on a pickup truck. He said he might as well have not even had it because the thing kept working its way loose, or it just break free somehow and slap around up under the truck, and he was afraid it was going to do damage to a bunch of different things, so he pulled it out, took it off completely. I said, why didn't you just weld it in? He says, no, he says, I don't know what I'm doing welding like that, so couldn't do any good with it. He said, I just took it off and figured if I really need something like that, I'll get some pro shop to build it for me, which may wind up being what I have to wind up doing myself for some of the stuff. I know it's probably going to have to be what I wind up doing to get this truck painted. and it desperately needs it. The roof, the whole way back, is rusted. Not rusted like holes in it or anything, it's all just surface rust. But there's rust there, under the paint. That's all about. Cops in camo out in front of a liquor store. Now, I didn't make this truck a hot rod or anything. I put the transmission out of the Suburban on here, and I took that wasn't what the problem was. That solved the problem with the way it was shifting and everything. For now. But that's the thing. The transmission shifted out perfect. It just neutraled out sometimes too, and I didn't like that. I probably could have kept driving it with that transmission in it for a good long while yet. What I'd like to do right now is rebuild that transmission with the heavy duty internals like this one was built with, and then put it back in here and have this one for a backup. There's nothing at all wrong with this transmission though. What I don't know about, and I mentioned it in one of my build videos when I was swapping them around, this transmission out of the Suburban has a 31 on it, and the transmission that came out of this truck originally has a 59 on it. I've still not found anything, but when Michael was going in his little autel to reset the timing and everything for this, the 31 appeared on one of the lists of his choices on his autel meter. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's what those numbers had to do with it. It's just like a selection on the good gauges or the good testers. Make it easier for you to punch the number and bring everything up. I don't know. But anyway, I got a decent transmission in here now, and it was still spitting and sputtering after I got this in here. So I determined that it wasn't, in fact, the transmission that killed it, that died. That was, in fact, the distributor. Now, I told my neighbor, and I kind of had an issue with that distributor because when I had the cap off, I was able to turn, with it still mounted in the engine, I was able to turn that little plate that the rotor button sits on. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So, my neighbor went over last night and looked at it, picked it up and held the shaft and the gear at the same time to where nothing else should move, and turned that plate. He says, yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So that's what caused my little episode Friday. If that hadn't have messed up or broke or whatever it did, then I'd probably still be driving it just the same as I was before, without all the extra drama of the swapping out the transmission and all that other crap. Either way, got it done, able to ride around without a whole lot of trouble, and even though I'm sore as I don't know what, I got bruises and God only knows what else everywhere, I'm still finding grease that regardless of how much I scrub, just will not come off. One thing I will give this transmission, it's smooth all the way up to 90. saw that this morning. I mean, it shifts and runs just as smooth as it can go. Anyway, between changing the transmission and the distributor this weekend, this almost feels like a whole new truck. Truck drivers don't like that just darting right in front of them. And he just looks dopey. I mean, just like a major goof. Got the old bird beak nose and the mouth that sticks out almost as far as the end of his nose. It's another thing. I need to swap these mirrors out. Because the driver's side mirror on the Suburban is good still. But this one, while it does work, this one is a piece of crap. I believe they're direct from China, if I remember right. And they're junk. This one's sitting here all the time. Driving down the road, it's just flopping around. It's not cool. Glad I stopped to think about all that. I gotta go into town and sign this piece of paper for the doggone pawn shop. They denied me buying my wife the .40 caliber Taurus pistol. Now I've got to go make sure and sign for the fact that they denied me and that I acknowledge it. Excuse me. It's like it's not embarrassing or bad enough to deny somebody the ability to even purchase a gun. And I don't know why I felt embarrassed by it all, but I kind of was. There was no reason for me to be denied. Well, see if you guys think the same anyway. All right, as far as tickets go, I have not been even stopped since 2004. No speeding tickets, no accidents, nothing since 2004. It's 2015 now. Plenty of time to have gotten stopped and everything else and had just incidents here and there pop up. But yeah, no issues. Who's going first? I guess me. Okay. I was in the service, top secret security clearance. Put out of the service because of a medical issue that popped up that was pre-existing. So they put me out, medical with honorable. That's what my DD-214 says. Since being put out, I've bought 4 different guns. And never, ever have I failed a background check of any kind. I mean, I passed one for top secret, and that was a nightmare. I didn't think that one was ever going to end. The more questions I answered, the more questions they had, basically. And, I mean, they were asking me stuff from when I was a little kid, like when we lived in Madrid, Spain, and in Germany, and Italy, and just stuff that I got into trouble messing with. Anyway, for whatever reason, I was still able to pass top secret security clearance. and get the heck are you filming? Oh, the sunset. Dude standing outside his car doing one of these numbers. Couldn't figure out what he's trying to get. Just a weird sunset pattern in the clouds over there. Not photo worthy as far as I'm concerned. Even with the 4K. But anyway, no tickets, nothing's changed. I'm still the same person I was back in the mid-90s. Matter of fact, my first gun I actually bought 94. I'd actually like to have my first one back, but somebody kind of stole that from me. Smith and Wesson 40 caliber SW40F. The first one. I got to looking last night, didn't see anything. Wife messaged me, she had looked, and there's 1,500 of those that evidently they can account for. I don't know how many of the SW40F was actually made, but I know I'd like another one or two of them. It's a full frame 40 caliber gun. And I really like those guns. The heck? Oh, that is freaky. Okay, for starters, my shift indicator does not come on now, and this just started. The shift indicator doesn't come on, so you don't know which gear you're in unless you count the clicks. My rear hatch release does not work anymore, and all of this worked, and I never did have that. Thinking of our Astro van where it has the digital readout. Now, what I was freaking out about a minute ago, or a few minutes ago when I pulled in here, was the fact that my airbag light come on, another one right there next to it, and they were blinking back and forth. My shifter indicator light's not on. My analog, oh, it was ABS that was blinking. My ABS light over here was on. My stereo keeps coming on every time I shut the truck off, and I keep shutting it. Oh, God. All kinds of weirdness. I'm going to the house. This thing is acting. I'm afraid I'm gonna wind up in a fire with this. I really am. I gotta slow down. I just noticed my dome light's not coming on either. Well, how about that? None of my interior lights are working. Oh, this is just beautiful. My truck is dead. I pop the hood and everything's working again. What kind of stupid is that? And of course the stereo comes back on. You're gonna have to get out. I'm sorry. Something major going on here. You're gonna have to get out. Go. Get. I know what it is. No idea. And this all just started since I changed the transmission. It didn't do any of this junk before. I think what a big majority of it was is I had to pull the battery out of here to try and get the Suburban started the other night, to just drive it over there to Michael's. I took the driver's side battery out first, which I think was already pooched, because I've still not been able to get it to take a charge. So that one's got to be replaced. Now the truck keeps it charged, but the problem is it doesn't always have to have a charge on it. So that's an issue. So that one's going to have to be replaced. And the I wound up taking my red top out of here and taking it over there, or bringing it back over here rather, and I was able to crank the Suburban up and drive it right over. No big deal. But anyway, so yeah, life's kind of weird and sucking right now. But what I'm thinking the issue is that the leads coming back from, coming from where that second battery was hooked up to the amps, those leads were all are both laying in that little plastic bucket up there. I'm thinking they may have wound up touching something that they didn't need to. So I tucked the negative cable up under the computer over here and pulled the fuse out of the wire coming from the amps back up front, and zip tied and pulled the cable end that comes from the distribution block over to the other battery. Got it all up by itself in the little plastic tray there. So hopefully that resolved that issue. It's all seeming to act right now. I'm going to take the taillights off because the ones on here are kind of milky. Of course, these are the Euro style that are 8 years old. And of course the ones on hers I think are only about maybe 4 or 5 years old. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I bought them, so they're quite a bit newer than the ones that are on this. I want to take the grill off of that truck and put it on the 4x4 and the hood too. taillights. I need the vents out of the rear air conditioner for right here because mine fell out. Of course, I'm taking her stereo and amp and all out, but that's not going to be anything that I put in here. I've got a perfectly good stereo in here already. And we would like to put it in that Saab someday, where she can have some tunes in there to listen to. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'd like to have the rear end out from under it if I figure out that it can fit, mostly because of the anti-sway bar. I would love to put that in here. The downside to that one is, well, actually, I've already pulled the tow package off of that to mount under the front end of this. The receiver hitch off the back of this Suburban is going to be on the front of the Tahoe. Where I have one in the front and one in the back, and I can just move my 10,000 pound winch from one place to the other and have quick disconnects for both of them. And I think I'm going to wind up putting them in something where they're protected, because I don't mind this being a little go-getter type of vehicle, little retrieval vehicle, but it would be nice to be able to have a winch on the front or back and not have to worry about going through a mud puddle and getting it packed full of mud and shorting out everything, because the winch will run off of the second battery over here. There's no way in the world I'd hook it up to my main one, but it can still short everything out on this one and take out the whole truck if it's not done right. On that note, I do thank you for watching. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.